Europe's oldest person survives COVID just before 117th birthday. A French nun who is Europe's oldest person has survived COVID-19 just days before her 117th birthday. Lucille Randon, who took the name of Sister André in 1944, tested positive for coronavirus on the 16th of January but didn't develop any symptoms. She told local media she didn't even realize I had it. She isolated separately from other residents in her retirement home in Toulon, southern France, but is now considered fully recovered. Sister André, who is blind and uses a wheelchair, is now looking forward to celebrating her birthday on Thursday, although she is going to mark the occasion with a smaller group of residents than usual. She has been very lucky, David Tavella, spokesman for the St. Catherine Labouré retirement home, said. He told Var Matin newspaper, "She didn't ask me about her health but about her habits. For example, she wanted to know if meal or bedtime schedules would change. She showed no fear of the disease. On the other hand, she was very concerned about the other residents." Sister André was born on the 11th of February 1904. As well as being Europe's oldest person, she is also the second oldest living person in the world, according to the Gerontology Research Group's GRG World Supercentenarian Rankings list. When asked by French broadcaster BFM if she was scared of having COVID, Sister André said, "No. I wasn't scared because I wasn't scared to die. I'm happy to be with you, but I would wish to be somewhere else, to join my big brother, and my grandfather and my grandmother." Explosives are missing from the nation's largest Marine Corps base and an investigation is underway. Explosives are missing from the nation's largest U.S. Marine Corps base, according to military officials who said Tuesday an investigation is underway. Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center 29 Palms in San Bernardino County, California, notified the Morongo Basin Station of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department last week, but a department spokesperson told CNN it was not asked to assist with the investigation. Officials at the 29 Palms base could not immediately be reached for comment. The base is located about 150 miles east of Los Angeles in the southern Mojave Desert. The Naval Criminal Investigative Service (NCIS) is investigating the incident, said Jeff Houston with NCIS Public Affairs. It is unclear what kind of explosives were missing and how many. Out of respect for the investigative process, NCIS does not comment on or confirm details relating to ongoing investigations, Houston told CNN. Marines and sailors from different units have been participating in training exercises at the 29 Palms base since January 15. The training is scheduled to conclude on February 18. Japanese submarine collides with commercial ship while surfacing in Pacific Tokyo, CNN. A Japanese submarine collided with a commercial ship as it attempted to surface off the country's Pacific coast on Monday, government officials said. 3 crew members from the Maritime Self-Defense Force submarine Soryu suffered minor injuries, and pictures from the Japanese Coast Guard showed it sustained damage to its fairwater planes, the wing-like structures on its conning tower. The accident occurred off the main island of Shikoku in southern Japan. The Soryu, commissioned in 2009, is the first in its class of Japanese diesel-electric-powered submarines. It displaces about 3,000 tons and has a crew of around 65. The Defense Ministry said communications equipment on the sub was also damaged, although it was still able to operate. Soryu scraped the hull of the vessel as it was surfacing. It is extremely regrettable the MSDF submarine has collided with a commercial ship, Defense Minister Nobuo Kishi said. The commercial vessel, the Hong Kong-registered bulk carrier Ocean Artemis, reported no damage, Coast Guard officials added. Bradley Martin, a RANCORP analyst and former U.S. Navy captain who analyzed images of the damage, said the impact would have restricted the submarine's capabilities. "I wouldn't call the damage minor. The submarine can't dive and can't communicate," Martin said in an email to CNN. The incident comes almost 20 years to the day after a U.S. nuclear-powered attack submarine accidentally hit and sank a Japanese fishing vessel, killing 9 people, including 4 high school students, near Honolulu. The USS Greenville was conducting an emergency surfacing demonstration for civilian guests aboard when it came up under the Japanese ship the Ehime Maru on February 9, 2001. The fisheries training vessel, carrying students and teachers from a fisheries high school in Uwajima, Japan, sank within minutes. Rescuers saved 26 people. The U.S. Navy paid a total of $16.5 million in compensation to victims and families of those killed. The sub's commander, Scott Waddell, was found guilty of dereliction of duty and negligent hazarding of a vessel by a military court of inquiry and forced to retire. UAE Hope Probe reaches Mars orbit ahead of China and U.S. missions. Earth's invasion of Mars has officially kicked off as the United Arab Emirates Hope Probe entered the red planet's orbit Tuesday. China's Tianwen-1 mission is not far behind, expected to enter Mars orbit on Wednesday. The U.S., meanwhile, is set to land NASA's Perseverance rover on Mars next week. All 3 nations launched their separate Mars missions within days of each other this past summer, initiating an international deep space race to explore Earth's neighboring planet. More corporate spaceflight lifts off in 2020. The major missions over the past year. The UAE mission, dubbed the Hope Probe, entered Mars orbit just before 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday following a journey of more than 300 million miles. The probe launched from Japan's Tanegashima Space Center on July 19, while China and the U.S. are planning to land on Mars itself. The UAE mission is just an orbiter that will study the Martian atmosphere and climate. Its first set of data is set to be released in September and made available to the global scientific community. More, what to know about China, UAE and U.S. missions to Mars this summer. Hessa Al-Matrushi, the science lead for the mission, said in a statement that Hope's orbital path around Mars offers an unprecedented local and seasonal time coverage of the Martian atmosphere, combined with a unique instrumental synergy. Hope will explore Mars' different atmospheric layers, revealing new and global perspective of its atmospheric behavior and connections, Al-Matrushi added. More. NASA's Mars Perseverance complete successful launch will look for signs of ancient life. The UAE erupted with pride as it became only the 5th nation to successfully reach Mars orbit on Tuesday. Major public monuments and landmarks in the Arab nation were illuminated with red lights over the past few days in honor of the mission. As a young nation, it is a particular point of pride that we are now in a position to make a tangible contribution to humanity's understanding of Mars, Sarah bint Yusuf Al Amiri, UAE's Minister of State for Advanced Sciences and chair of the UAE Space Agency, said in a statement. This also marks an important point for the Emirates to continue the drive to diversity its economy utilizing science and technology. Bill Cassidy joins 5 other Republican senators who broke ranks to vote that Trump's impeachment trial is constitutional. 6 Republicans joined all of their Democratic colleagues on Tuesday to vote that the impeachment trial against former President Donald Trump is constitutional, with Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy emerging as the sole Republican to switch his vote after an initial vote on constitutionality last week. The 56-44 final vote marked the closing chapter of Tuesday's proceedings, with the Senate adjourned until noon on Wednesday. All but 6 Republican senators voted that the trial was unconstitutional because Trump is no longer president. It was the second time such a vote was taken after Senator Rand Paul, a Kentucky Republican, forced a vote on the same question last month. Here's which Republican senators voted that the impeachment trial was consistent with the Constitution: Sen. Susan Collins of Maine, Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Senator Mitt Romney of Utah, Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska, Sen. Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. Cassidy told CNN Tuesday after the House managers' presentation that it was very good opening and they made strong arguments. During their presentation, House impeachment managers showed how rioters violently breached the U.S. Capitol and attacked police officers, invoking Trump's name as they tried to disrupt the certification of the November election. House managers were focused, they were organized, and made a compelling argument, Cassidy said after the vote. In contrast, he added, President Trump's team were disorganized. They did everything they could but to talk about the question at hand, and when they talked about it, they kind of glided over. Almost as if they were embarrassed of their arguments. Several Republican senators slammed the arguments offered by Trump's legal team as lackluster. Murkowski said she, who was really stunned at the first attorney who presented for former President Trump, attorney Bruce Castor. I couldn't figure out where he was going. Spent 45 minutes going somewhere, but I don't think he helped with us better understanding where he was coming from on the constitutionality of this, she added. And I felt that fellow Trump attorney David Schoen did a better job, but I think they sure had a missed opportunity with their first attorney there. Texas Republican Sen. John Cornyn bluntly told reporters, I thought the president's lawyer, the first lawyer, just rambled on and didn't really address the constitutional argument. Finally the second lawyer got around it, and I thought, did an effective job. He quickly added, but I've seen a lot of lawyers and a lot of arguments, and it was not one of the finest I've seen. Trump was unhappy with Castor's opening argument on the Senate floor. According to two people familiar with his reaction, Trump was almost screaming as Castor made meandering arguments that struggled to get at the heart of his defense team's argument, which is supposed to be over the constitutionality of holding a trial for a president no longer in office. Schoen, who spoke second, was initially going to present first, not Castor. According to two people familiar with the plan, the Senate tabled the initial effort by Paul, a Kentucky Republican, late last month to force a vote on the constitutionality of the trial. But the vote offered an indicator for how Republican senators, who overwhelmingly voted for Paul's measure, feel about the trial. Paul's motion was killed on a 55-45 vote, with 5 Republicans joining all Democrats, meaning 45 Republicans voted for Paul's effort. Romney, Sass, Collins, Murkowski and Toomey crossed party lines to join with Democrats on that vote. Trump unhappy with his impeachment attorney's performance. Sources say former President Donald Trump was unhappy with his impeachment lawyer Bruce Castor's opening argument on the Senate floor Tuesday. Two people familiar with his reaction told CNN. Castor, who is representing Trump alongside attorney David Schoen, delivered a meandering argument during the first day of the Senate impeachment trial, including praise for the House impeachment managers for a presentation that he said was well done. Trump was almost screaming as Castor struggled to get at the heart of his defense team's argument, which is supposed to be over the constitutionality of holding a trial for a president no longer in office. Given that the legal team was assembled a little over a week ago, it went as expected. One of the sources told CNN. Still, Trump's allies were flabbergasted when the attorney switched speaking slots at the last minute. Senate GOP rips Trump and #39's attorney for lackluster arguments on trial, and #39's first day Senate GOP rips Trump's attorney for lackluster